Hello, soul friends. This is Miriam. Welcome back to my channel. Today's pick a card reading is all about the spring season and what's going to happen, what you're leaving behind from the last season, and how you're going to move on to the next season. So the way that we're going to have you pick is just if you're drawn more to the winter decks here. Okay, so we have the, hold on. And my winter decks will be going bye-bye after this, as sad as it makes me to see winter go. We're like, what is wrong with this woman? I like it, okay? I actually like early spring where I live generally because it takes a while for the stuff to bloom. And so I actually kind of enjoy like the warmer, sunny weather that still like would be cold to most of you. You'd be like, what? It's not warm. It's like 54 degrees. I'm like, oh, it's so nice. I'm just, I don't like the heat. So anyway, if you're more drawn to the winter pile here, or if you're drawn to the spring, okay? So this is the winter deck that we're going to be using for clarification, and the oracle deck that we've been using. And then I just got this. I'm so excited. It just came out. We got the Ostera Oracle Seasons of the Witch. Same person that does the other one. And then the Fairy Tale Tarot deck, because it's kind of more springy looking, and I haven't used it that much. I use it for Valentine's readings because it's got hearts and stuff on it. That's where you get this deck, okay? I need to start tagging these. I need to start putting them in my description boxes. I'm sorry I've been so slow about doing that. Super sorry to the sellers, but I do still show, where to get them. If I can, if the information is there in print, I usually do try to show those. So hopefully they'll forgive me. I'm just not gonna, okay. So, yeah. So you might just be more drawn to the way this looks. You might be drawn to the way this looks, but, just whichever one you're drawn to. We also have a clear, very clear quartz. I love this little stone. I love clear quartz that's like completely clear. It's so fun. I like the cloudy ones too, but like the snow quartz and the other quartzes, and like white quartz, but yeah, I just love those clear ones. And then this, I believe, is amethyst or lace agate. I'm not quite sure. It's got a lot of bands, but hard to say. Lisa, my friend Lisa, who has a podcast on Spotify called We're All Psychic that I'm a guest on. I've been on a few times and I plan to be on it more. We've been talking about maybe doing a once a month pick a card reading on there, like a live pick a card reading kind of thing. So if you want to check that out, she always has really cool people on that are like from like prominent people to like, she's like kind of like the podcaster that like brings on like pretty much anybody that has some kind of an ability, right? Or wants to talk about some kind of an ability. And that's why it's called We're All Psychic. So anyway, super fun. I think she has a birthday coming up next month. So we will wish her a happy birthday when that happens. And Lisa's awesome. So thank you, Lisa, for always telling us what the rocks are in the comments and giving awesome, comments in general, lots of good feedback. And then you also always tell me what my rocks are. You give me great topics. I don't even know. She also sells jewelry that she makes herself. I think she sells it on Amazon, but I can't be sure. So I keep meaning to get all of her info to start linking her. But yeah, check out her podcast, We're All Psychic, on Spotify. Okay. So I think that's given us enough time. Unless I didn't say, remember, no matter your individual beliefs, tarot oracle reading is your spirit guides coming forward to give you advice, or simply your subconscious mind helping you answer life's ponders. No matter how you look at that, it's healthy. You're in the right place. We did this all backwards. We'll see you in your individual readings. Bye. Hello, winter deck group. So if you picked the clear quartz heart, ooh, look, you can see little cards in it. Oh, isn't that so trippy and cool? Whoa, man. Whoa. Okay. Now I'm going to get a million comments like, oh my God, are you stoned? Like, not right now. Why, do you have something? All right. We're going to start with what you're leaving behind this winter, or what you've accomplished and are like moving on from. Whoa. Interesting. This like fell flat right on my chest, just jumped right out of the deck. I don't know how many we want for this. I guess your guides will tell me. Okay, so this is what we're leaving behind. Okay, we have coming of spring, beneath my feet stir the waking, spiraling surges of warmth that tell of life ready to birth. You are ready for spring, people in this group, which is interesting if you picked the winter deck. Interesting. If you aren't and you're like me and you're like, no, I like winter. I'm so mad. Like, we didn't even get one. I'm so mad. Like, the only thing that's going to make me feel better now is if, like, this huge, crazy, like, storm happens and, like, we have snow until June, which could happen. And if my life mate downstairs hears me, he's going to, like, be like, don't you say that. I can do what I want, but I get it. He's the one that shovels the snow. So, I've never shoveled snow. I don't know what it's like. My parents always did it because they liked to do it for winter exercise to lose their winter fats. So like they never made us shovel snow. And then when I met my husband, pretty much fresh out of high school. I mean, I was still in high school when I met him. He started shoveling the snow. So there was a small window of time where I lived with my sister and nannied her kids, and like we lived in a place where the maintenance shoveled the snow. So I've never shoveled snow. What's it like? I have never heard anybody say they love to do it. So I've never like felt like I was missing out. But anyway, whew. Yeah, you're ready for, like, if it's not, winter that you're ready to leave behind, you're ready to leave like a dark period behind. The last few readings that we've been doing, when you have a channel, a lot of the same people will come back. We've had a lot of readings coming through over the last few weeks and months of like people who have lost people, like to death. And so I feel like some of you are leaving behind like a grieving period that you're starting to move forward. Those look like magpies to me, but I could be wrong. Let me get the book out. Hang on. Well, I hate to break it, but these little booklets don't do a description of the picture, which is funny because I usually skip those in books. So that's why I've never noticed. So yeah, the fox energy is with you. See how the little like flowers are starting to spring up around. Like, I feel like some of you had a loss and you're getting ready to move forward and you're like leaving that grief behind a little bit. We can't ever leave all the grief behind, but we do get to a point where we can start to move forward, right? Like, you don't get over it, you just go forward, that kind of thing. So yeah, let's see what else. Antlers allow the magic of who you are to be seen by the eyes you keep. You are enough, my dear. Take ease in receiving. I feel like a lot of you accomplished this last winter, that you are enough, that you followed that message from your guides, that you've had a big epiphany. The white stag is all about showing you the aha, right? So like if you ever see a white stag, you might want to follow that sucker. No, I'm just kidding. It's probably just a wild animal and you should be really careful. Stags can get really aggressive, and like out where I live, like occasionally they will kill someone. Like the does can kill people too. It's crazy. Like they stand up on their hind legs and they just and like I can't even imagine how bad that would hurt. So we have like what I call town deer, and they just kind of chill, like they just kind of either run away from you or just like sit there and look at you, but they're not really scared of people. And so like during mating season and stuff, and like during like doe season when the babies come, you gotta be flipping careful, yo. Just saying. Okay. So I see like you had some kind of epiphany that you are enough. If you lost something, okay, so now I'm starting to get some breakup vibes as well. If you broke up with somebody, you're finally starting to like live again, move on, not feeling like it was your fault, not feeling like you weren't enough for that person, and like really coming into your own. And oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so sorry when there's breakups, but I'm always so happy when I feel that energy, because it means you're not relying on another person to make you emotionally happy or secure. You cannot do that. You can do that, but if you do, you kind of stay here, because that person is not equipped to make your emotional state all okay all the time. And I know that that's not like what you were thinking that you were doing, you know what I mean? And like, I don't think you were like, oh, you have to make me okay all the time. But it's almost this idea of like, they are gone and now you're not okay, and maybe you're never going to be okay again, you know, that kind of energy. And that is simply not true, because you are all you need. And I am counting on that, you know, because I am alone a lot. So let's just, but no, I'm kidding. I actually do feel like it's enough generally. Like, yeah, sometimes I get hungry for human connection. And the best way to cure me of that is just to go out and spend time with some human beings. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's enough. I go back to being alone and, you know, hang out with Mr. John. That's about it, you know? So, you know, and I have my little phone friends that I call them, my phone friends that all live in different states because they all moved away, or I just met them, you know, and they live somewhere else. So anyway, I feel like you're moving towards that, and that is beautiful. What else we got? Garlic 22. It is unwise to walk beyond the boundaries you have yet to expand on. Protection among all else. Interesting. So this actually feels like, I feel like you've got boundaries in place for like your next relationship if this was like a breakup. If you haven't, your guides are saying make sure those are in place from now on, right? Take this as a learning situation to keep that forward momentum of positive energy that makes you strong. Keep that current. And so protection among all else. I feel like you are moving into this idea of protecting yourself above all else, to set boundaries for yourself. That's awesome. And I'm proud of you. Now let's see what's coming towards you for spring. Because this is what you've like accomplished, right? This is already starting to move into like where you're headed. But I just want a couple of more. Oh my gosh. All right. Bear with me. Okay. Google is telling me that it's Bridget. But I've also heard them call it like Bridget. Like, I don't know. Irish dialect has changed so much over the years. It's very strange. Like, it's like those people that are named Siobhan, but it's like Siobahn or something like that. You know, it's like Siobhan, you know, and then they're like Siobhan. I'm like, okay. Or like, you know, Samhain looks like Samhain. It's just very strange to English speakers. Okay. So we have Bridget is what they've been saying on Google. So Bridget's doll, thread by thread, I weave my desires, working as one with the source of creative power. Yes, I see you thinking outside the box. And I see you being more independent and just like doing what you want and not worrying about attracting people to you. Okay. If you've experienced a loss, and whether it's like death or a breakup, and it might not even be a person, y'all. It could be like you lost your job, you lost your house, you lost your town you lived in, you lost your friend, you know, something along those lines. You lost family members, not necessarily to death, but, you know, breakups and things of that nature. And so I feel like you doing your own thing. See how she has all these people gathered around her, and the fox is here again. I feel like they are showing that the fox is leading you to like be your own crafty little fox. You know, you don't really see like a ton of foxes hanging out together. It's usually just like one fox, right? I'm sure they have like dens or whatever. I don't know. I don't know about foxes. Like, I don't know that they're not called foxes. They're just called fox, right? I don't care. Anyway, I'm not an English teacher anymore. Who cares? Don't give me crap. See how she has these people gathered around her? It's like you doing this and being your authentic self is going to bring these people to you. Like it's going to widen your circle, or at the very least attract more people to you. And they might not all be people that you want around you, but they might be people you can help. They might be people that do end up being part of your circle. So that is something you can expect coming through in the spring months. Sorry. Rosemary bread, number 35. Share and commune with the ones who mean the most to you. Break bread with the spirit of rosemary, which will call for healing and mend. You're healing, baby. Thank goodness. Okay. I see you just kind of taking pleasure in like the simple things in life, the simple things that make you happy. One of the things that I love to do is watch movies, as you know. Oh, saw a great one the other night from like 2015 called Backtrack with Adrian Brody. It's like a movie about ghosts. It is so haunting and the acting is so good and it's moving and sad and crazy and wonderful. So check that movie out. Let me know in the comments if you watch it. It was great. Start watching movies with me, guys. I need you guys to help me with that. Okay. So yeah, moving forward, taking pleasure in, and like, see again, we see like it's kind of wintry outside, but you're starting to see like some green. And there's like a little gnome on the windowsill. Some of you might have, or an elf on a shelf kind of looking little guy. Interesting. Some of you might have like a little critter or, you know, a gnome or a little troll or something that you decorate with, or that, you know, you have in your windowsill. Some of you might keep little like things on your windowsill in your kitchen. Some of you, I feel like this looks like your kitchen. So that just might be more confirmation that you're in the right place. Rosemary bread. I don't think I'd like that. I just don't like the taste of rosemary, yo. It just covers everything. They're like, oh, can you taste the rosemary? Like, yes, that's all I can taste. It's basically like cilantro to me. Like, I don't hate it, but it's not just like, I just don't want one flavor, you know? It's kind of weird. I don't like it. Do you like rosemary? And I'm allergic to it now, so who cares? Let's like, keep on going. Okay, and lastly, sacred space. Yes, 36. Mundane to eyes, not of my own. These sacred responsibilities are mine to embrace. Yeah, I see you like fixing your house, making your space all special, putting little things in your windowsill, reinventing. She's doing like spring cleaning, it looks like to me, and like, you know, redecorating. One of the things that my mom always did that I thought was kind of cool. She was a little bit OCD about it. It got kind of crazy sometimes, but like in the case of like her throwing away all of her stuff, you know, like she would purge a lot. I need to learn how to do that. But probably why I don't is because she purged a lot of things that were really important to me and I was like devastated. And so I hang on to everything. But she would also do this thing after she purged where she would rearrange the living room. Like every like 6 months or so, we would rearrange the living room. And then all of a sudden you're watching TV on a different side of the house and your couches are in different places and the chairs are all in different. And I loved it. Like, and I do not do it at all. We've only rearranged a living room once, but usually it's because our living room is strange and we don't really have much options. Like there's only one place a TV would go in our living room. So that kind of dictates that the furniture is going to go around the TV because we watch a lot of movies and shows. Okay. 80s kids, you know, 80s film buffs, 80s and 90s. We thought the movie industry was like the pinnacle of art and fun stuff to do and just a wonderful thing. And we thought it was just going to get better and better. And that turned out to not be the case. And like now people just stream things and don't really watch anything. And that's why nobody ever knows my movie quotes and it breaks my heart. Okay, here we go. Let's just see what's coming up. So I'm going to get 3 cards, March, April, and May. Okay. And I know like March 20th, this one's blah, 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 but I just do it this way because I don't care about equinoxes. Even though I'm a spiritual person, I don't give a hoot and heck about equinoxes. I don't pay attention. Okay. March, we have 9 of Swords. Interesting. I want 1 clarifier for this one. Okay. I want 1 more clarifier for that one. Or like a solution, I guess. Okay. Now we need another one for that one. Okay. Thank you, guys. So for March, you got Nine of Swords, and I was like, okay, that's about anxiety, sleepless nights. You might just have some trouble sleeping at night during this month. A lot of times when you come out of like a grieving period, you might have been sleeping a lot and now you're not sleeping at all, that kind of deal. I feel like some of you have like some anxiety coming up towards work. And then some of you have some anxiety towards maybe the reading itself and how it's like, you're going to get through this and you're going to go forward and you're going to do all these things. I feel like some of you might be like, oh my gosh, I'm nowhere near that. I'm not even close to that. That is okay. Spring does not officially start till 20th of March. No, I'm just kidding. You're on your own timeline, babe. It's okay. Like, you just need to do whatever you need to do and just know that this is what you're headed towards. And it's okay if you're not quite there yet. Don't let it keep you up at night. The Eight of Coins just shows you just keeping your head down and just taking it one day at a time. For those of you that have anxiety about something else, like work itself, like maybe you have like a new job coming in because you lost an old one, just keep your head down one day at a time, watch and learn, all those things, kind of, beware of that one person that really wants to be your best friend on the first day, just in case they're a weirdo, all that fun stuff. And just kind of keep your head down and move forward, and you're going to be okay. The Three of Swords. Just because we're starting to move forward does not mean that grief is not going to rear its ugly head again. These initials might mean something to some of you. The little woodpecker is a symbol of family and loyalty and fierce loyalty to your family, or fierce loyalty to those you love or feel responsible for. And so your guides are showing that, like, because you have that spirit of woodpecker inside of you, sorry, I can hear my phantom students laughing at me right now because I said, woodpecker inside you. Go knock it off. You're right. Okay, so anyway. So funny. It was always so hard to like be stern about that because I just laughed with them. I'm like, okay, whatever, But anyway, going back to the serious stuff, like, it's gonna come back. Like, you don't always, but it's not gonna come back as strong, okay? I had to cough. As a really awesome person that I met in Alcoholics Anonymous back in the day told me that, like, they had lost their spouse, and like another friend from AA really like took them under their wing and like helped them through their grieving process, and then they ended up getting married. It's kind of cool. But anyway, the person that was grieving was like, when is this gonna stop? When is this gonna stop? And just to be clear, this was not told to me in a meeting. This was just told to me during a talk with this person. I was like, when is this gonna stop? When is it gonna stop? And, this other very gruff, awesome AA soldier, was like, it never goes away, but the intensity lessens. And that's true. Like, it will start to, it's like being like, like when the blood pressure cuff gets really friggin' tight and you're like, oh, like my heart. And I expect blood to start shooting out of my fingertips. Sorry for that visual, but that's what I picture when I'm getting my blood pressure taken. They have to squeeze my dumb little arms really tight. Oh, it's so stupid. But anyway, when it starts to ratchet down, it goes and loosens a little, and you're like, oh, and it's like, and you're like, oh, and then it's like, and you're like, no. It reminds me of the stages of grief. It really does. But then eventually it lets go, right? And that's where you're at. So, I mean, you're still in that process. Be easy on yourself. You are headed to Emperor energy. So please just take it as it comes. You don't have to be right here, right now. Okay. That's coming through for March 100%. So just be easy on yourselves. Let's look and see what's happening for April. Okay, sorry about that. I heard one of my kitty cats like meowing in a strange way. So then I was like, my cat, and we were looking for them. they're all fine. Okay, we have the world. So in April, jeez, like I have to go through all the months to remember which one comes next. It's so annoying. And Lord help me, I'll never remember the rhyme that tells you which ones have 31 days and which ones don't, or how to do this or whatever. I don't even know. Like, if no one knows what this one is, then I just looked really even crazier than I normally look to you. See the eagle, and they represent freedom and rising above and perseverance. At least that's what the American bald eagle, or North American bald eagle, I should say, stands for. In my country, I don't know if it stands for something different for everybody else. If it's something bad, don't tell me. You'll hurt my feelings. Anyway, you won't. But interesting. That place looks very familiar. Like, it might look familiar to some of you. It might look like a place that you've been. Okay, but anyway, I feel like you, during that month, are really going to start moving towards that letting go feeling more free, feeling more uplifted, and just having the shackles of grief just kind of, they're in that ratcheting down, right? Over here, you still had a few that you're like, you're ratcheting down, and then it's like, okay. And so the world is about a cycle coming to an end. It's about new beginnings coming in. So I feel like this is where you're going to start getting to this point, I feel like by that point in April, like, depending on where you live, the weather might be really getting nice. And if you're somebody that's like, winter is hard, to get through for you, it might be like, sorry, I was trying to hear what they were saying. Someone was saying, what? Sorry, I can't hear you. Okay. Somebody's guide was trying to say words. Oh, interesting. Look at those are reflections of the trees up in the sky. Interesting. I wonder if that happens in dense fog or mist. Huh. But you know what this is giving me total vibes of is As Above, So Below, which is all about, how a tree, if you look at the roots underneath, it looks very similar to the branches above it, right? That's all this idea of like, As Above, So Below is either Norse or Celtic origin. I can't remember. I mix them up all the time because I have both of them in my blood. But anyway, it's about, being part of your creator and never, it's also kind of about that idea of like, we are creators. Like acting on earth in accordance with those in heaven, those kinds of things. Being made of God's own image. So it has a lot of like Norse, Celtic, and like Christian, ancient Christian ideals in there. Some of you might have that in your religious upbringing, but what it really is speaking to me is that you're really going to feel a very strong connection to your creator, maybe a strong connection to the other side. If you're a medium, you might get a message from like your past loved one. One of the things that I've noticed doing mediumship readings, because on Everclear you can't do mediumship readings, so I work on other platforms where you're allowed to do that and call in people's like past loved ones. So if you ever want a mediumship reading, just like email me and we can meet up on like Skype or Zoom or one of the messenger apps. I know that I have a client that calls in sometimes, and we've used Instagram, but it kind of like lags and cuts off what we're saying, and that sucks. Because like if you're like paying for a reading, like it should be as perfect as possible. So I think I'm going to switch to Zoom. So anyway, that one person, if you're listening, remind me that's what I said. If you ever call me back, if you ever need a reading again. But anyway, and no pressure. Never pressure to pay me money to get a reading. If you're getting what you need right here, that is awesome. All right. Anyway. Yeah, I feel this like strong connection to your higher power. I feel like if some of you have lost a person, one of the things that I've noticed in doing mediumship readings is that a lot of times if the person was really young, if the death was really traumatic or unexpected or not of their will, or they harmed themselves or whatever, right? Or they just weren't ready to go, or they didn't think anything was going to be waiting for them on the other side. So when they actually finally pass and they're still conscious in some way, they're like, what do I do? Right. And so I feel like a lot of times when that happens, a few different things can happen. They can stay earthbound, and that's why we have ghosts and spirits sometimes that are stuck to a place, right? Those cyclical, they always knock on the door at this time, or they always you hear the footsteps at night, or not, or you hear somebody doing dishes in the morning that isn't there, stuff like that. Those are those cyclical ghosts that are kind of stuck in a loop of they might not know that they've passed. They might be earthbound because they're looking for somebody. They might be earthbound because they don't want to move on because they fear punishment, all those things. The other thing that can happen is they can sort of end up wandering earthbound. So not in a one central place, and they kind of feel lost, they can't figure out where to go. And sometimes that can be if you have a really negative, ghosty feeling, it's oh my gosh, that felt awful, right? And so sometimes that can be a spirit that's kind of earthbound and doesn't know where to go, and they're lashing out, I didn't actually know that spirits could wander like that until I didn't meet one, but encountered one in my apartment here in town, and then had students tell me later that they had seen a ghost out by the skate park, and it was the exact same person, described all the way down from how her hair was done to what she was wearing. And yeah, they said that she didn't see them. She didn't seem to see me either, and I didn't want her to. A very, very negative feeling. And so anyway, now I know they can move around like that. So my point to you in this group is that this month, your person that you lost could have been in recovery. And in recovery, what that means is they made it to the other side. I'm not getting any sense in this group that anybody who lost a person, that person is now earthbound. I wanted to make sure that was clear to you guys, because I don't want to cause you more grief or fear, of oh my gosh, am I ever going to see them again? Stuff like that. The people that are in this group watching this, if you lost somebody to physical death, they are on the other side. They are okay. But a lot of times when, those types of deaths I mentioned can happen, a lot of times they need, or a long illness where their body was really racked, and, or their body was really, destroyed or whatever, severe injury, dismemberment, those kinds of things. It can be harder for them, especially if they didn't think something was waiting for them, those souls that feel that way. It can be really hard for them to cross over. And so what their spirit team does is they swoop in and they try to bring them back. So if you find yourself in that time of your life where you're passing on, do not fear the light. Go towards the light. Listen to the voices that are calling to you. They mean you good, and go to them, And so that being said, these souls that have passed that I'm feeling in this group, and I don't know how many there are, it feels that you had a person in recovery, and it feels in April, that person is going to be able to start kind of making their presence known to you in certain ways, showing you signs. It might be a good time during this month to get a mediumship reading. It might be a good time to, if you don't want to do a reading with someone, because I know it's hard, one thing I will tell you is that the platforms that are out there now, speaking from my own personal experience, you have to do a cold reading with strangers to get a job there. And a lot of times you're not looking at them. You're just talking to them on a telephone or chatting with them on a computer. And if you don't guess right, they don't hire you. So I think that's awesome. And I feel like it's really cool that like the platforms are like not like they were back in the 80s and 90s, like the whole call Miss Cleo man. I mean, not to give Miss Cleo a hard time. She might have been a real psychic. I don't know. I never called those places because everybody always said they were frauds. And they were kind of allowed to say whatever they wanted to like get the person to stay on the phone. Like now they really vet us pretty well. And what's cool about that is there's so many of us that actually have these abilities. And so that is indicative of the world kind of getting more evolved and changing into a more spiritual experience. I don't know if we'll ever make a full shift on this planet. I still don't know for sure if I believe that the planet will just disappear or destruct one day, or if it will just keep on going. What I do believe is that our souls keep going, and reincarnation to me is a thing. And so I feel like even if this world did end, like another one would come into existence and our souls would just start reincarnating there if we wanted to reincarnate. But that's just my belief system. Anyway, which is very much akin to Norse and Celtic and pagan, like European pagan beliefs about, God and death and reincarnation and the planet. So that all being said, there's a weird little religious history there for you. When a person is in recovery that's passed, I get shown it as this big medical tent, and they're there and it's like they're sleeping, and they usually look very peaceful and very happy, and they usually are in the same form that they were when they were last alive. So like if they were elderly, they'll still appear elderly to me, and they have their little spirit team around them, like all these healers like helping them. And so when they're in that state, what I've learned with working through mediumship is that they can hear you. They just can't answer you, and they can't come through for like a mediumship reading. Okay. So I can still tell the person like where they are, who's with them, what's going on. The people or souls who are with them will usually come through and like try to give advice and stuff. But it's a very like painless place. It's strange that it's like a big medical tent, and the only thing I can associate that with was I had a lot of visions of Vietnam as a child, dying in Vietnam, and the medic situation. My dad was a medic in Vietnam. I learned later, after I got older. So it was weird that I was having those visions when I was like 3, because it's not like he talked about it to us. But he was a medic in Germany. So it's just interesting that like the way I see it, it looks like a medical army, like an army medical like tent kind of city, but it's big, right? But it's right there in the smack dab of like what I call Summerland, or what some people would call heaven, which is like, Garden of Eden looking stuff. It's springtime all the time. It's beautiful. Everybody's happy. And so they're just there helping that person heal and get a bearing on like their new existence. I feel like a lot of you are going to have this person come towards you. So now is the time when you're thinking about them. They can feel you thinking about them. And tell them, I miss you, I love you. When you're out of recovery, show me signs. Show me that bird you love. Show me, lines in a movie that will remind me that you're there. Show me anything. Like, let's try to like communicate, okay? And once they're awake, they're going to try because they want you to know they're okay, okay? They'll try to come through to mediums for you. They'll try to come through and pick your card readings for you. They will do whatever they can, to show you things on the street, on a television program, on a poster, that they're there and they're helping you, and that it's all going to be okay. And I feel like you're going to start coming into, like, that's going to be healing for you to be able to feel their presence. It's going to be healing for you to feel like they're not really gone forever, that nobody's really gone forever, right? And that we're all going to be okay. Okay, let's look at, and for breakups, sorry, getting ahead of myself. For breakups, kind of the same diff. You're going to start to make peace and move forward. Always beware of that stinking sucker coming back, trying to get back with you. A lot of times the types that kind of abuse you and then leave, and I don't mean like abuse, I mean like any type of like just taking you for granted, making you feel bad, coming in close and then pulling away, cheating, etc., they tend to come back when they feel like you are actually moving on. It's an energetic thing that they feel, and they want to keep you under their thumb, or they're kind of like, that energy of pining for them kind of fed them, whether they know it or not. And usually they don't know it. But then you start to move on, and then they pop up out of the blue. And like they either act like everything's okay, or they love bomb you. Oh, I made a big mistake. I'm so sorry. I want us to be friends. And then when you act like things still aren't cool, they can be like, oh, you're awful. Oh, you're so mean and awful. Oh, and then try to gaslight and guilt trip you, those kinds of deals. So when those suckers come back like that, my rule of thumb is that if you let them back, firm, non-negotiable boundary, you do this one more time and you're out of here. I do not care. And then you hold to that. They're not going to change. They're not, you know what I mean? You got to hold to that. Because if you keep going back, they're going to be like, oh, see, we can just keep doing this cycle forever. This is fun. Just, some people can change, but you need to make that firm so that they have to earn you back. The pressure is on them now, not the other way around. So if they come back and they love bomb you for a while, and then they stop calling, they stop answering your texts, and they start acting like you're being, too pressury because, 2 weeks went by and you didn't hear an answer from them and you had like actually texted them a question. Now I'm not talking about the ones where, they see your text and they don't get back to you like right then. It takes them a couple of hours. Like that's not what I'm talking about. That's pretty normal. And the stress that people feel about that is just that instant gratification. Well, you saw it, so you should answer me, right? Well, they might not have time. They might not be in the headspace. They might have opened it and saw it and were like, okay, let me chop up this apple and then I'll call them back. And then they forget, and then the notification isn't there anymore. Happens to me all the time. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like aloof behavior. They pull away. You feel like something's wrong. If you try to ask them what's wrong, they act like you're being weird, So it's like there's a distinction. If they start pulling that jazz again, then it's a pretty good indication they're going to keep staying in that cycle, and it's probably best to let them go. Okay, now let's move on to May. 5 of Swords. Okay, with 5 of Swords, I see you being very more selective about who you let into your circle. I feel that because like notice how this guy notices this guy, okay? If these guys don't panic and run, they could take this guy. But anyway, I'm not feeling like this is coming into like an attack, but what I am feeling is a client is calling. Okay, I have no idea where I left off. It seemed like these two were kind of squaring off. And what I'm seeing here, like, let go of the whole nature idea of like, yeah, the wolf's going to win, because it might not. These guys can kill a wolf. They can. But anyway, what I'm saying is that see how they're all just doing their thing. They don't even notice. You are now more aware. Okay, so this is definitely giving me breakup vibes in the sense that you now know that you might have been dealing with somebody that wasn't the best for you, and you're going to move on or forward from that, that you're going to recognize it easier in others, that you're more aware, that you're going to be more proactive on who you choose and you let into your circle and like how you spend your time with them. For those of you that lost someone, I feel like this is a time where you kind of like, not like be selfish, but like you kind of start being selfish in a sense of like taking care of yourself. Okay. It can feel selfish to you. And I think that's why they're showing it as the 5 of Swords. It can feel selfish to somebody who's grieving and they start to move on. You can feel guilt. You can feel, especially if it's like a spouse or a loved one that was romantic and then you start to like move on with somebody else, it can feel like you're cheating on them. It can feel like you're doing something wrong or that maybe you shouldn't be with that person or whatever. Like this is showing me that your guides are saying you focus on you, especially in the month of May. You've been going through all of this, right? Don't feel guilty because you're starting to move on. And that's the other thing. Like this might be a point in the grieving process where you catch yourself not thinking about them every 5 seconds, right? And that's so hard. I've been through it. It's hard. You know, I lost my brother, I lost my dad. My brother was very young. My dad was, older, but it was still like, we weren't ready for him to go, like that kind of thing. And so it's like, I know what that feels like, where you like forget to think about them. And then you go, oh my gosh, I forgot to think about them, and you feel that like guilty feeling. Your guides are saying to let that go. It's not always going to be easy. I want to get one more card for just the people who've lost somebody. Oh, Slate Ride. Let me get the book for this, because this is a different card. It's an extra card in this deck. Okay, so meaning, here we go. Allow yourself to escape into a magical world where it is just you. It is okay to leave the stress of this world behind and travel into dreamland, even just for a moment. This card is truly about allowing yourself to escape into the dream, to dream whatever is in your heart, even if it might not come true. And then she's just talking about a memory of like what sleigh rides were like for her. I also feel like a sleigh ride, you're kind of like gliding as like these horses pull you. And especially if you're not the one like driving the sleigh, you're just kind of along for the ride. I get a very strong sense of like going with the flow, just kind of taking things as they come and being easy on yourself. Okay. One more card for overall advice. Of course, group 1, your thing was, okay, don't worry about being alone forever. Okay. Some of you might be in like some periods of isolation. This card is about the fear of that. Some of you might be worried about money. This card is about the fear of that. But what I love about this version of this card is that they're showing the moment where she sees that salvation. She sees that building and she knows that she's okay now, right? Because the 5 of Coins is about fear of poverty, fear of losing everything, fear of rejection, fear of all that. And they just don't see the truth that their salvation is right there, right? What's cool about this is that she's seen the salvation. So I feel like you are on your way to being okay. Nope, I'm getting a call. It wasn't even a client. But yeah, so you're going to be okay. If this was helpful, tell me how in the comments section. Give me topic ideas there as well. If you'd like to book a private reading with me, there are ways to do so in the description box. My friends, I know it's been a rough winter and maybe even more than that. So please just take a deep breath. You're on the right track. You're going to be okay. All right. And we will see you in the next one. Take care, y'all. Bye-bye-bye. Hello, group 2 who picked the Amethyst Heart, or group Spring, if you will. If you picked this pile, then you got 2 bonus cards that popped off when I picked the decks up after we did our little intro there. And so we're going to look at that first. First, we're going to look at what you're moving away from or what you accomplished in the winter months. And then we're going to move into what you're headed towards for the spring months. So let's just go ahead and hop into the first 2 cards that we got. I did 3 cards for group 1, so we'll do that for you as well. We have Aquamarine number 2. Allow the crystalline waters to illuminate the sorrows that need the salve of your presence. Can I confess something devilish with you? And I know that sometimes when I speak, I slur my words or, might overpronounce a letter or underpronounce a letter. I sometimes will pronounce words strangely or in a different pronunciation than what I should for an American accent because I'm half deaf. So there's this, I listen to so many podcasts, okay? And I have this thing where there's a certain thing that I've only seen female podcasters do it. They do it a lot in ads now, I've noticed as well. But I'm going to pretend to be one of those people for a second. Tell me if this annoys you as bad as it annoys me. I'm just going to read this again just for fun. I'm going to do it like they do, okay? Allow the crystalline waters to illuminate the sorrows that need the salve of your presence. How'd I do? Did I sound like that? If I ever accidentally do that with my S's, I apologize, because if I'm listening to like audiobooks or podcasts or whatever, and they do that weird, it's not a lisp, it's like a weird softening of the S, but a lengthening of the S, almost to a lisp, but not quite. And oh my Lanta, the little hissing noise that it kind of makes in my ear is so horrifying. It's not horrifying. It's just grating it. I get tired of it and I'm like, I gotta get out of here. And so, yeah, if that's your show voice, I'm probably not gonna listen to you for very long. The crystalline waters. And then like 5 people leave. They're like, I do that. F you, Miriam. F me indeed. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the aquamarine card. Allow the crystalline waters to illuminate the sorrows that need the solve of your presence. So, all right. What I'm feeling here is a couple of things. I'm feeling with this card that a lot of you in this group are a fixer, you're an emotional support, you are someone who is sought out for emotional support, but I feel like it can get kind of draining. I know that it gets draining for me. Like, obviously, you know, when you work in a field where you're constantly trying to give emotional support, which when you do readings, like there's a lot of counseling and empathy and stuff that goes into that if you're doing it the way I do it. And so you do that all day long, and then you finally get like a call from a friend, and all you want to do is like laugh about what you saw on TV or something, or talk about something that you're excited to go do. And they're like, let me tell you about my troubles. And you're like, yeah, but I don't want to, you know. I'm like, and it's hard for me because, you know, even when I was like a teacher, I was just an English teacher, but I still ended up being in that role, and I'm good at that role. The person usually is always like, I feel so much better, but I don't, you know what I mean? And so it's like, oof. And that's why I started doing like this stuff for a living, because I was like, if I'm doing this all day anyway, even with the people who are like my friends, then I should be getting paid. Like, that's just the bottom line. And anybody that's listening to me that's still like an active friend of mine, I'm not talking about you. I've cut a lot of those people kind of out, or they kind of like distance themselves from me because I wasn't as emotionally there for them as much as I used to be. It's just a boundary I've had to set. But I mean, it's when you do that stuff all day, like even normal people like your family, you know, can be like an issue like that, you know, where it's like you just got done like listening to all the worst things in the world, and then like your spouse calls and wants to tell you about something bad that happened to them at work. Of course you should be there for your spouse, but they're, you know, every now and again, if I'm really, really worn down, it's like, you too, please no, you know. It's like, thankfully my spouse is very laid back and does not have very many, he doesn't let things torture him in his mind. If he does, he's locking it up tight and not letting anybody see it. And I hope that doesn't, like, you know, affect his health if that's what he's doing. But he tends to I wish I could be like him, like very, very go with the flow, doesn't let stuff bother him. Like if a person is mad at him, he never once, you know, for like some stupid, ridiculous reason, if he's done something wrong, he will just apologize and try to make it right. If he hasn't done anything wrong, he doesn't let it bother him that person like hates his guts now and thinks he's a jerk. I wish I could be like that. So anyway, I feel like you're kind of like a me in that stage. Like you kind of are the light in the darkness, and people have been coming towards you with their sorrows. You could be somebody who does like work, like counseling. You could be an unofficial counselor, I like to call us, right? You could be like an empath, a really sensitive empath, and people pick up on that. So like not only do they come to you to feel better, they also project on you to like feel better. And like a lot of times their projections are not nice, you know? So I'm feeling that for you in the winter months, and I feel like this is something that you've been through. I also feel for some of you a little, you know, other storyline here, that some of you are in that role and that's something you accomplished. So like maybe you just got into like helping people, or maybe you're in an environment where you've been getting a lot of feedback on like the help you've been giving to others, or you're just starting to realize that you have a knack for that and you're thinking about maybe doing it for like a career or like a life path thing. And so that's the two storylines that I'm getting. We had two in the last one. Let me jot them down. So we had people. Here, I'll pause. You don't need to sit through this. Let me see if there's anything else. We have people who are kind of trying to leave behind being, you know, that unofficial counselor for everyone, or being that like unlimited tap of comfort or attention or whatever, you know, like, oh, I just relate to you so hard. I've gotten to the point in my life where I really have, you know, most of those people are not really in my life anymore. And then, like, you know, there have been a few that I've been able to kind of be like, hey, I can't do this right now, you know, and they're like, I'm so sorry, you know, and they just, you know, were more aware of like how they, you know, the things they put on me, right? So anyway, there's that group, and then there's the group that you're kind of like finding your life path, and it's to like help others and to like soothe sorrow and with the salve of your presence. I want to welcome you to my podcast. And like, I'm not even going after somebody specific. I'm not even going after somebody specific. I'm just saying that like every ad that's like, I just got this little owl from Oogly Boogly Owl, and I'm so excited. His little eyes are so blue. Okay. Some of you are moving through this to a life path, a career, a soul calling, what have you. And thank goodness, those are the only two storylines I'm getting. The other group only got two, and it was still like a 40-minute reading, and we're already almost 10 minutes in. So let's get it. Let's go. We have Ancestral Lands. Number 1, within your roots, you will find the truest form of magic, which belongs to the essence of who you are, who you will become. Awesome. What is happening here? Oh, I see her now. Looking through my camera, I could see her dress and her shoulders and her hair, but I couldn't see her face, but there she is. Okay. I like how that tree is like hugging her, you know? Like those like little branches are like wrapping around her. Oh, what is this? Who's this? Oh, some of you have not just ancestors coming through, you have... Well, okay, let me throw something out that you might blow your mind a little bit. So take this if it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. Some of you, I feel, could be a non-human soul that has chosen to take a human form this time around. And you're actually ancestrally linked to whatever these are. I don't know what those are, and the book doesn't usually describe what's going on in the cards. It just tells you the meaning and gives you advice. My rice! So and it was 10:10 on the timer just now, so look up that number if you feel like it's related to you. We also have 2 and 1 on the card numbers here. Oh... This old ancient tree, and you might have a crow energy or a crow spirit animal. But I feel like, yeah, not all of you. Some of you are not a human being, soul-wise. You are a non-human soul that chose to inhabit a human form. So that means that whatever you were kind of looks a little bit like a human form, right? But then you have all these extras. So you might have had issues with, like, you take pictures or somebody takes a picture of you, and no matter where you're standing in the living room, you know, the deer antlers on the wall. If you live in a place like I do where everybody has deer antlers on their wall and sometimes the whole head of the poor deer. And I'm not an anti-hunter. I don't do it myself because I can't handle the wet work and I can't go outside. But, you know, I do have to eat meat sometimes because it's one of the things I'm not allergic to. I mostly just eat rice and beans because after a while the texture of meat starts to ick me out and I start to feel sad. And it's not because I think, oh, those people that killed this animal were so cruel. You know, like, I mean, depending on where you got the meat from, they might have been, but... You know, if it was just like a hunter, you know, hunting for food and the animal gives its life for you to live kind of thing. I understand the the tradition and the the honor in that. But so like that's not what I'm talking about. When meat, just the texture just starts to get to me, and I don't know what it is. I don't know why it happens. It happens with almost all the meats, and so they're like, sometimes they're the only thing that I can have, but I can have rice and beans. And I know that you can pretty much eat just rice and beans and still survive. So that's pretty much all I bother with. That's why you always hear me go, my rice is ready. So anyway, oh my gosh, what was the point of that? Dang it. There was a point to that and I lost it. So anyway, I'm feeling like this sensation from, a lot of you that you're an inhuman soul in a human body and that your ancestors are coming through to tell you that right now. That might be something that you've recently started wondering about during the winter months or became aware of, is that you are different in some way. Okay, and this is just for the people that are the non-human souls in the human form. That you don't always relate to people as well. They're drawn to you a lot of times if you're in the, like for this element of that for these people, geez, the storylines. That's why a lot of people are drawn to you. That's why a lot of people project on you. Okay. And I can relate. I don't know exactly what it, well, I do, never mind. So for those of you that are human and you have a human soul, your ancestors are showing, okay, thank you. One of your guys just helped me. They're always so nice. Okay, not always. I was doing a mediumship reading the other day and I got a helicopter parrot come in. Oh my gosh. That poor soul. We worked it out, but it was like, she just like kept latching onto my shoulders and I was like, please stop. Or I'm going to kick you out of my house. Anyway. And she just really wanted to see the computer screen because it was a chat reading and she wanted to like interject and make sure that I was saying it the way she needed her daughter to hear me, like, oh my gosh. I finally was like, go stand over there by their pet cat, who was much more well behaved. This cute little cat. Anyway, so that being said, your guides are telling you, if you're a human soul, your guides have recently been showing you, or you've recently accomplished, that you can connect to spirits who are non-human. Okay, so that would be like angels, even darker things like demons, that kind of deal. Be careful with those guys. I have met some, and I've learned how to control my interactions with them when they show up. I know how to get rid of them. I know how to even kill them if I need. I know this is getting crazy. But I try not to because I always feel bad if I, energetically kill something that, who knows, guys, might not even be there. You might be talking to a crazy person. These are all just delusions that I have. I have no proofs. None. All right. But anyway, that you have this knack for seeing or communicating with angels, demons. You may have been attacked before by darker entities this winter. So that could be something that you're shook about and trying to learn what that meant. Like sleep paralysis comes to mind. Because I feel those are spiritual attacks. Because they feel like they are. And sure, you're like, oh, it was just a dream later. But while it's happening, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so real. I can't believe I ever doubted these things existed. Because why are they all the same? Anyway. So maybe you have some sleep paralysis. Maybe you've been attacked by entities before. And so you've kind of accomplished or trying to move through learning more about that. And it's not just angels and demons out there. I've encountered like things that look like a centaur, like, the little guys with the little goat bottom half and the little horns. But he was like a little kid one. And he didn't have his horns yet, kind of deal. Apparently. And I was like, I explained that to a spiritual teacher that I was seeing for health reasons. And they said, oh yeah, that's a little centaur. They get their horns later. And I was like, oh, this is a weird conversation to have with a doctor, but here we are. And so, like the centaurs, fairy folk, which are all kinds. I mean, look them up. In fact, I encourage those of you who are feeling like you're, both of you, those of you who feel like you're not human and those of you who feel like you are, start researching the different kinds of entities that are out there, because I feel like that will help you in this, process of moving forward. Like so far, I'm seeing like a lot of accomplishment with this card. I don't see you moving away from anything in this card. I feel like this is something that you're very much in the moment, and it was something you dealt with this winter and like started learning about. And your guides are super excited. What's that next to her head? Is that like a little egg? Right there. So an egg thing might be, you might want to look up the spiritual meaning of eggs and see what resonates with you there. Okay. Interesting. Now you guys are really you've got my curiosity. Hang on, it's this one right here. Okay, here we go. Daffodils, the whispers that inspire are shifting towards you in a melody of creative blooms. Interesting. You guys' spread did the exact same thing as group one. We were like leaving things behind, kind of making some accomplishments, and then it moved right into like where you're headed. And we're going to get some more where you're headed cards, but that's so interesting. Usually they don't end up so even like that. All right. So I feel like those of you who, and if you're an inhuman soul living in a human body, or you're a human that's just encountering these energies and entities, I feel like the situation is kind of the same. It's like a big realization for you, right? These things exist. I'm not human, These things are around me and they exist. What? Dragons are a thing that I've encountered on the astral plane. I used to astral project a lot, but I did it when I wasn't meaning to. And, it just happened kind of naturally when I was trying to go to sleep, and I loved it and it was so fun. I thought it was just some kind of a half awake, half asleep dream. I didn't know anything about that stuff. And then I got attacked by something. And then I got attacked by something again. And so then I ended up watching that movie Insidious came out pretty soon after that. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I've been doing. And I did all this research. So some of you may have been astral projecting and not realizing it. And maybe something scary did happen to you. Just look up ways to how to safely astral travel, how to keep your body safe from anything while you're out and about. But since I quit doing it for so long because I was so scared, and I was like, I'm not doing that ever again. I'm not messing around with that stuff, right? Now it's hard for me to do. And so, whereas before it just happened very naturally. So dang it. And now that I know how to keep myself safe, I'm like, I want to go out and do stuff now. Can I please? And my brain's like, no. So I feel like this is just the whispers of what's to come, right? For those of you that are embarking on a healing journey for people, in career, and, you're on this life path towards healing, things are going to start to really materialize for you in this area. You're going to start to really see the whole big picture in your situations here. For those of you who are just moving away from that kind of thing, you're going to start to surround yourself with more positive people that lift you up rather than drain you dry, setting boundaries so that the people that that are worth it actually stay and improve and grow with you. That is definitely coming up. Look, you guys. That is not a human sitting by them. She's got green hair. They've got normal hair. I thought that was an elf ear, but it looks like she's got a bird in her head. Maybe that is her ear. I'm not sure. but that not giving me a human vibe. And she's sitting at their table. Hello, hello. It can't get any crazier than that. Okay. Man, you guys are some serious spiritualists here. Aromatherapy. There is a fragrance bellowing with the essence of nourishment that is asking for a deeper seeking into yourself. Some of you may have been experiencing luck. What are those? Who is that? Not a human, that's for sure. So some of these entities that come through, they might have distinctive smells to you. And they might have smells that you can use to attract or repel. So that might be something to research. You guys are blowing my mind. This is the funnest reading ever. And I know funnest is not a word. I'm not an English teacher anymore. I'm going to say things wrong. Antelope are bouncy, bouncy deer. Okay. I can say that now if I want to. All right. You ever see a bouncy, bouncy deer up close, like its face? They have the cutest faces. The cutest faces. And unfortunately, I learned that because a whole head of one was on a wall. So usually I just see their little, behinds jumping around my car. We get huge herds of those where I live. They're just bouncy, bouncy deer is what I called them when I was little, because I knew it wasn't cantaloupe, but when they said antelope, my hearing and deafness, I didn't understand what they were saying. Because, yeah. And so, like, if there's just vowels and no hard consonant sounds, that's what I have trouble with understanding. And so I would just come up with new names for things. And bouncy, bouncy deer is my favorite. I don't remember what the other ones were. So you might have you might have a spirit animal connection to bouncy, bouncy deer. So look them up and see what their little spiritual qualities are. That might be enlightening to some of you. Yeah, this looks very fairy-ish to me. She's got little wings. Not that all fairies have wings. That might just be her cape. But yeah, that's the message I'm getting with that. It's so interesting that we kind of started off, I was thinking that you guys were going to go off and help people. But now I'm starting to think that the people that were going on a life path to help others, that maybe you're going on a life path to help things that aren't human. What? Or like help things that are not in this world, or to, I don't even know, or to like work with them. And then that's why, there's another one. What the freak? Dudes. All right. Okay. And now I'm looking at the other cards in here, like, are there other, is there like paranormal things in all of these cards? And there's not. I just grabbed a few. Look, there's not. There's none here. There's the egg, and there's an egg on that one. So a lot of these have the same little guys and images in them, like rabbits and fox and stuff like that, but like, and the crows and such. Like all the cards in this series do that, but there's no little fairies flying around. There's no little guy with like a weird little branch antler thing sticking out of his head. Tell me if you've seen these entities in the comments. I would love to hear like the weird things you guys have seen in the comments. For example, we were driving to move out to where I live now, and it was kind of a long drive, like an 11-hour drive. So we were driving through a lot of the same state, but it was like, a lot of the country. And it's a very rural area. And so all the areas we drove through were rural. And so, because we were going from like a sort of bigger urbanized area to a very rural area. And so it just got more rural as we went. But that word starts to sound strange to me after a while, and I feel like I'm not pronouncing it right. So as we were driving, all the summer people were around. Yuck, but whatever. And they were like, these summer people were just out kayaking and camping and having fun. And like the road was up on the side of a mountain, so you could just like look off to the side and see all the campers and the kayakers and the people sitting around roasting marshmallows, drinking beers, floating down the river, tubing, all that fun, rafting, all that fun stuff. And I saw this group of like young people that looked like early 20s, and they were all like sitting around in that like conspicuous little circle, You know what I'm talking about? The little, that 70s show circle that they used to do in their basement. And so being a person that, I don't know, I'm just drawn to when people are doing little naughty things. And it's not even that naughty. It depends on what state you live in. But I like immediately just like looked to see if they were like smoking something that maybe, you know, they shouldn't have been, you know, because it wasn't legal yet or whatever. Like I went to look at them and then something drew my head back. And this is all while I'm driving past. Like I'm not driving, my life partner was driving, and I'm sitting there looking out the window at these people. And then for some reason I glanced back at the tree line. I don't know why. And there was this person sitting there. Like he was having fun watching them as well. Like they must have been having a fun like conversation, or like, I love those like 70s show, like stoner conversations. And like, you don't have to be a stoner for you to have those conversations. Just this weird introspective. We're not just going to talk about going out and, you know, we went out and did this last week and it was great. And this is what I'm dealing with my family. It's like, you know, why aren't there dinosaur ghosts? Like that kind of conversations are my favorite. That was why I loved teaching high school, because those kids would talk about anything. They were so fun. And so anyway, this person is sitting on this stump looking at them. He was a young, like very handsome young man with like, he was shirtless and he had like kind of long brown hair. And I mean, just a beautiful, like beautiful features and face. And he was watching them with this amused expression. And then I looked down lower at the stump he was sitting on, and I realized that the stump, the bark on it, were his legs. What? I was sober. I was in my right mind. We were driving to, we were moving, like, we weren't tired. We weren't any of that. I saw him. And then I started researching, what was that? And I didn't really get much on him, but it was very interesting, and somebody told me it was like a forest, being. And so I might need to look up forest beings, but I want to hear about the ones that you've been seeing, because I think a lot of you have been. I want you to tell me which one of those you think you are if you're not human. Are you a Heyoka? Are you, what is the other one? Are you a starseed? I don't even know if I believe in starseeds, but let's just go there anyway. I think I might. I don't know if I specifically believe in like the starseed thing, the way it's organized in mainstream, but I do feel like there are planets that ended and some of our souls reincarnated to a different one, but I could be wrong. So all those things, very interesting. I feel like with this, you're going to be moving towards like researching, learning about this, like not feeling afraid even of like the scary ones, because you're stronger than they are, believe it or not. Okay. And especially the bad ones. So I feel you like losing fear and gaining so much knowledge, even down to the point where you're like, oh, those fairies don't like cilantro. They're like Miriam. All right, let's go ahead and keep going. Woo, a little bit sneaky. Oh, but she's covering herself up for us. Good girl. We have Germination 17. Trust in and fully embrace the emerging path to who you truly are. Well, that's pretty self-explanatory. Let's get another one. Moon Milk. There is nothing like the medicine that comes from the ritual of yourself. Yeah, really cultivate what you're doing to your own personal deal, especially if you're not even a human, you know what I mean? But every human is also unique. And so if you're a human soul, it's just become very sensitive to all these different energies around you. And you're actually like looking into it as like life path energy. And the same thing with those of you that realize that you're not human, if you're Heyoka or something like that. And like some people might argue with me that Heyoka are human. I agree that they are, but there's the connection that they have to the thunder beings feels non-human to me. And so just take that as you will. I know it's, it can get controversial talking about Heyoka. But anyway, like a lot of you are like, what's that? And you go looking it up. I feel like there might be a Heyoka watching right now. And you need to know that that's what you are. I'm sorry if that's what you are. I'm just kidding. It's one of those ones that you feel like it's a curse more than a blessing sometimes, but it also means you're uber powerful, and that's super exciting. But I just see you cultivating and really stepping into that energy, even to the point of some of you making it a career, to the point of some of you, totally like ousting things out of your life that do not serve this like very holy purpose that you're on. This is like metaphysical, crazy, awesome stuff. Woo! Look at us go. Let's get you some tarot. So what I'm going to do with the tarot is I'm going to get some cards for each month of the spring season. So we're going to do March, April, May. I know the equinoxes fall in different times, but that's just how I split it up. I just split it up by months. March 1st is the first day of spring for me. December 1st is the first day of winter for me. That's just how I roll. Okay. Anyway, let's go ahead and get a card for March. We have 3 of Pentacles. Like I said, some of you are embarking onto a career. Some of you, as you're doing your research and doing things, you're going to find helpers coming towards you that are going to help you with all this cultivating and learning and just making things beautiful. For the month of March, we have for April, 4 of Swords. Okay, so April, you've been doing a lot and you're going to do a lot this month. I feel like a lot of you are like excited right now and you're like, oh, what are we going to do? Be careful not to get too, do your work. But when you start to feel that empty feeling, make sure you're eating, make sure you're drinking lots of water and get lots of rest. And April kind of needs to be a time where you rest, but also look at this little thing floating above her. That's a spiral. Okay. You guys know I love TV. I love crime dramas. My favorite crime drama ever was season 1 of True Detective with Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson. And if you've never seen it and you can stomach crime, watch that season. Most people hated the other seasons that came out. I actually didn't mind season 2. I didn't like the ending. And it wasn't so much because, certain characters didn't make it that I wanted to, but it was like, I didn't like the way it was shot. And I didn't like the way the dialogue ended up in the last, and I felt like it kind of was written by a different person by that last episode. And I was like, no, because I loved everything else about season 2. Season 3, I felt was pretty like, mwah, it was okay, but there just wasn't enough grittiness like the other ones had to make me feel like I liked it a lot, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, in all of those, and then the 4th season was written by an entirely different director, person. And so that one, it still kind of had the flavor, but not quite. It was still kind of, I liked the way it ended and stuff, but what I thought was funny about the True Detective thing was that the season 1, they find a body that has a spiral on her back, right? And they're like, what is that? Some kind of Satanism thing, because it's like the 90s when they started the case in that show. So season 4, it's like 2024, right? And they keep finding these spirals on bodies or whatever. And they're like, what do they mean? What does that symbol mean? And I'm like, okay, in 2024, people can look up what the spiral means. It means that life never ends, that we are born, we die, we're reborn, right? Energy just changes. It doesn't disappear. So what I'm also seeing here with the 4 of Swords in April is that while your little selves are sleeping, you might start astral projecting really hard. So that's something to consider. Protect yourself. See how she's got these swords over her? I feel like those are protecting her, not hanging over her like they are sometimes. She's got one by her side in case she needs to protect herself. One thing that I do when I try to astral project, even though it hardly works anymore for me, is I make like a little like cocoon of light, like a little like cover over my body. And then I imagine a white cord around my waist that comes to my spirit waist. And then I feel like no one can get in to my body while I'm out running around. Okay. That might be what's keeping me from running around more. I don't know. Anyway, but you might start astral projecting more. So just kind of find those ways to protect yourself and find ways to rest in April. And then we have They're a bit naked, but they're seeming to cover up their naughty bits, and their naughty bits don't seem to be defined anyway. You got the Lovers card. Some of you might find a person who's like a kindred spirit in some way. It could be romantic in May, but somebody might be coming towards you that really is into this stuff too. Like you're going to be meeting people and entities that are really into this journey with you. Okay, let's get one more card for final advice for the spring months coming forward. King of Swords, you are going to overcome your challenges. You are hot, mama. Papa, whatever. So you just keep on doing what you're doing. This is super exciting. I would love it if you would comment about what's going on with you with all this. Super fun. It's so interesting. And if it was helpful, let me know how in the comment section. Give me topic ideas there as well. If you'd like to book a private reading, there are ways to do so in the description box. This was fun. I hope you enjoy spring. We'll see you next time. Bye.